Hello everyone, welcome to the day 4 workshop of the Toddler Play Conference. As always, if you are here with me, would you just give me a thumbs up to tell me that I am being heard and seen okay? I'm going to give you guys a little wave here. So, how are you all doing? How has everybody's day been? Give me a thumbs up if it's been a great day and you feel like you're ending your week on a high, and give me I suppose they don't have like a in the middle finger for emojis, but give me a thumbs down if it's been a bit of a whirlwind. My day has been a whirlwind. But I'm so excited to be with you guys. And this is the final workshop that we are running. Hi, Nicole. Oh, I'm so happy to have seen your face every time, Nicole. It's really nice to see a familiar face. So we are running our final workshop. Tomorrow, we are doing our webinar. So that will be a little bit different to this kind of format, and it also won't be here on YouTube. It will be on Zoom. But today we are talking a little bit more about play schemas. Now, play schemas are, I think, one of like the big clues that help us to understand. Oh, sorry, I've just realized I didn't have my light on. They help us to understand the way that toddlers play differently. So I hear a lot within Playful Pod. Not just within Playful Pod, but I do some play coaching with parents. And often what I hear from them is this thing of they're not really sure if their kid plays at all. Like we hear a lot on social media about what independent play is, what independent play isn't. And it can be a little bit difficult to kind of navigate the thing is like, is what they're doing okay? Like, is what they're doing called independent? Like, is this the right thing? And sometimes it can even feel like pressure on us that like we need to get them playing more independently, and that if we are like, I don't know, we can feel like almost the other side of being like too good a parent, that we're with them too much, or like we're like babying them by being too present in their play. So how I like to think of this is a little bit different. Like there are these attention scales. We generally say children, according to their year of age, they'll be able to concentrate for about 3 to 5 minutes on like activities or something that's a bit more closed-ended and structured. But when we look at like really deep play, the way the children play and schematic play in that, the thing that we want to look more for instead of time, and instead of whether you are present or not, I don't think that those are like the perfect indicators of a child's progression in play. I think the indicator is more that they are interacting of their free will. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they've like said to you, I want to play a magical Barbie game and we're going to put the Barbies like this and then we'll do a tea party. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's that complexity in the game. But it's not that you're saying lift the coin and drop it in the box. They're like initiating that kind of action of their own will. And this is everywhere. This is how our children learn about the world and how the world works. And this is what's so beautiful about schematic play, is that through these simple actions, that's what a play schema is. It's like repeated actions or movements that we see children doing. And these have been studied really across the world in different socioeconomic backgrounds and different cultures. And this is something that consistently toddlers do. There are 8 play schemas that are pretty widely known. I don't always love to like stick to the wording of the play schemas. We are going to use one specifically today with the examples that I have here for putting on your shelf. I like to think of a play schema more as like the verb, like the action thing that your child is doing. And that also helps us a little bit more like decode some of toddler behavior, because we see that action or that playful initiation happening in things that we could also, if we look at it in like an incorrect lens, see that as bad behavior. Now that can be like spilling water, like that's an action, right? Pouring is a great action. And if you've done any of the sensory bins from this week, you'll know like pouring is something that toddlers are like really interested in. That there is a period when they are working through a play schema that has like a specific interest in watching the movement or how things move from one area to another, that pouring becomes incredibly fascinating, and that they'll try to find this kind of action in almost everything that they do. I remember I spoke to her mom once that when she like understood this, she was like, that's why he keeps throwing his socks off of they lived in like a 2-story. He kept throwing them off of the, like not the stairway, before the stairway, like landing, he kept throwing them down. And she was like, why is he being so naughty? But it was because he was like really fascinated with this, like watching things move. And you can think about that, like watching things move in terms of pouring water. You can think of it in terms of being on a swing or swinging someone else, in terms of playing with little like Hot Wheel cars, racing them down and watching them move. In terms of like sensory rice, like, you know, that's rainbow rice, like lifting it and spilling down the rice and watching it trickle. There's so many ways that children can, in the way that they're interacting with their world, be looking to learn that thing that happens when they are watching something move. And so we often think of learning in terms of like very like defined constructs, ABCs, numbers, colors, and of course, like, not that those things are bad at all, but in these very little years, the things that they are learning are often things that it's very hard for us to teach. Like, how do you really teach someone that when you throw something, it lands on the other side and stays intact? And that's what they're exploring, right? When they're looking at movement, they're really exploring this thing of like, it lands on the other side and it stays intact. And how do you teach that? That's like, apart from like the concept of gravity, it's something that children just have to innately understand about how the world works. And for me, I really think that when we don't allow time for children to have the self-initiated action, when we want them to be like little robots and just do what they're told and have no like space for exploration, I think that then we see later on academic problems that we can't really explain. So like just a real difficulty understanding like basic maths if they've never had the opportunity to break things open themselves and like piece them together and then understand like that concept of many parts makes a whole. So that's schematic play in a big zoomed out look. If you have any specific questions about like, what does that mean, schematic play, you can pop them in the box. What I did want to show you today is just some really easy kind of invitations that you can put on your shelf. So I really like toy shelves. Let me have a sip here. If you are a therapist or an educator not really, but a therapist, this might be something that's like a bit newer to you, using toy shelves. If you're a parent, I mean, you must be familiar with Montessori. It's like so popular at the moment. And that's really, the concept of shelves is very strong in Montessori. And I really appreciate this idea of having things laid out in a way that invites children in, is very organized and aesthetically pleasing. And then doesn't like put us into the role that we are always the one that is like trying to initiate them into playing, but the environment does that for us. It's like a built-in way of getting of pulling your child into play. So I'm going to show you a few ideas here. What I did want to also just say is that I know somebody wrote in the group the other day that they've spent so much money on open-ended toys and they get no play. Like, I really hear that. I think that there's like certain nuance in the way that we set up toys that can really make the difference between whether they get played with or not. And of course, also children, each child is going to be different the way that they play. Like, some children are just much, much more social in their play. So toy play like has to then have a social component with it as well. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this properly. I just have like a little tray here, and this is just a Melissa and Doug tray from, I think, some stamps and a little spade and some pom-poms. And I set up, oh, Mara, I'm glad you like the shelves. I set, this is just like some magnet tiles, and this is the one that goes with the marble run, so it has a hole in it. But if your child is interested, the thing that we're going to be talking about today, mainly the verb, is like putting things in or hiding things. If your child is interested in hiding things, there's so much that they can do here, right? They can pop those in like that. They can use this little shovel if they wanted to. Maybe they want to open this and rebuild it. Maybe they want to make something else. But this is it, like it gives a clear kind of direction of maybe you could do this, but it also is open enough that your child could do something completely different. hope it doesn't fall. Another way to set this up is, now I know with Easter coming up, and also Passover, that there's a lot of eggs and things around. So I gave a couple of options of eggs here. Like you can see, this is just some Play-Doh, but for some children, just to have like something like this, like a Play-Doh with something inside of it, it immediately like sparks their interest. So they will come to this, and it might not be that they end up playing with the egg or with the Play-Doh specifically, but as they start interacting with something, and like playfully exploring it, they often then are directed into more deeper play. So what we really want to do is just like make sure that the way that we're setting up our toys sparks some kind of curiosity, some kind of interest, and some kind of exploration for them. You could also just set up something like this, that doesn't necessarily have like a clear direction. So this is just a play scarf, and this is one of these eggs with a ball inside. And it might be that they want to, make noise. It might be that they decide to put this inside. And these invitations are really geared towards a child that seems to be interested in like hiding things or putting things in or under. And it's a great time for also like dress up, playing with big boxes, making tents, gardening. And your child might not be in the schema. Your child might be more in like being interested in pouring. They might be more interested in throwing. They might be more interested in like making sounds or smashing. So you need to follow that. But these are just some ideas to get you thinking of how the way that you set up things can kind of change and facilitate that schema. So you see, I just put like the scarf in here. Maybe that's something that they would be interested in doing. Maybe what they'll do is they'll put this on their head, or they'll go make a bag with this and put other stuff in it. But just having these few items together and not locked away in a box, and also just a few items, especially with young children. You don't want to have lots and lots of stuff because it'll be overwhelming. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. Another one that I put out is just, this is so simple. There's a reason that children love Tupperware cupboards, right? Give me a thumbs up there in the comment box if your child likes your Tupperware cupboard. I think it's like a universal thing. Children love Tupperware, so we might as well let them play with them, right? And this also helps us as parents. Sometimes I know there's that feeling, especially in the toddler years, before you have a ton of toys, you still have like your baby stuff and you're working into the toddler years, that like you need to get more, you don't have enough, and there's all the stuff that you need. And I really want to encourage you that you really don't. Like often the things that we have at home, the simple stuff, can be so effective in inviting play. I can say for myself, like my children they play a lot. Like play is definitely their language, and we don't have like, I don't know, when I go on Instagram, I feel like I don't have any of the stuff that most people have, and that's totally fine. Like that's totally fine. They're not, I don't know, like missing out on anything. Like if you can look at their holistic development and know that they are like receiving all that they need in terms of their development, you don't need to worry about the nitty gritty of what toy and what not. I will drop here, I have like a list of toys and stuff that I really like. But yeah, I call all the containers. But yeah, I want you just to like also just like breathe out a bit. Like we don't have a Pickler triangle, we don't have a nugget. We don't have, I don't know, so much of the stuff that like it seems like if you don't have that, you're missing out somehow on the toddler years, and it's okay. Just go with what you have, go with the child that's in front of you. As long as they are like interacting and exploring, feel calm. Okay, so containers and shells, like how simple can you get? And also this little basket is something that I just picked up from like our grocery store. There's a lot that kids can do with this. They can put them inside the containers. They can play with the lids. They can shake them around once they're closed. They could wear this as a hat. Like it can open up a lot of doorways for them in terms of different types of play. And then I've just got one last one that I'm going to show you. And this one I purposefully just used a box. I know sometimes also like you feel like you need to have, if you're going to do the shelf, it has to be like 100% right, and you have to have the right baskets and boxes and whatever. Just go with what you have for the meantime. Like as in a few months, you'll probably have all that stuff anyway. So like don't put off play because you don't have a right basket or something like that. So this, you can see, this is just an Amazon box that I just cut off the top of. get it so you can see the whole thing. But this can absolutely go on a shelf. This is totally great for a shelf. It contains the play, it makes it organized. That's what you need. You guys now know that I love these egg boxes. So there's an egg carton in here, and then there's also like one of these snack trays with just a few different loose parts. If you have a child that's under 2 and they're still mouthing things a lot, try go for bigger things and things that are more natural, like these kind of wood squares. Buttons can also be great. If you're going to use rocks or anything, maybe just use bigger ones and like trust your gut with your child around how much they're mouthing and stuff. And if you are using small stuff, obviously you need to stay around and just watch that they're using that in a safe way. But having this next to an egg box, it's just open. There's so much that they might want to do. If they're in a time that they're learning more about order, they might seem to put all the pinks together. If they're in a time that they're really interested with that, like putting things in, they might have this as it's set up, like that it's a bit higher. They might be kind of dropping things in and making sure that every single little hole has one thing. There's so much that they could be doing. So I just wanted to give you those kind of shelf invitation ideas. Let me know if that was helpful or if you have any questions about that. Take one more sip. My throat is a little bit itchy. And I hope that has given you like a little bit of an idea of how to kind of get started with play schemas and how you can use the toys that you put out in an interesting and creative way to really do that inviting for you. And I'm going to be leaving it at that. If you haven't signed up for the webinar, I'll put the link in here as well. Go and sign up. That's going to be happening tomorrow. And what we are going to be doing is talking about building a daily flow that supports every area of child development. And this is a great time to kind of look at your child's development more holistically. You are in the best position to do this right now because you've just gone through the conference. So you've learned so much about child development. And this is your chance to really look at your child's day-to-day life. And this webinar, like specifically, I feel like it puts a lot of the burden off of parents. It helps you kind of see the places that your child can get support from outside influencers, like whether that's your spouse, whether that's a daycare center or whatever, and really value that they can get that support and like take some of the burden off of yourself. So I really would love for you to come. And at the end of tomorrow's webinar, we are also going to be opening up the doors for Playful Pod, which is my membership community. I've already gotten quite a few messages. When is Playful Pod opening up? So it's going to be tomorrow. Yes, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of today, day 4, and the amazing speakers that we have today. It's really fun. There are some real gems today, especially like diving more deeply into parenting. And great, Nicole. Great, Mara. Thanks for your comments. And then tomorrow we have our final day of the conference. So we have another 4 speakers. If you have a picky eater, if you are a bilingual family, who else do we have tomorrow? We have another talk on Montessori and Montessori materials, which is a little bit different from what we did today, but I think it's also super valuable. I think that a nice mix of open-ended and Montessori, like closed-ended, can be really beneficial for children. And we have someone else. Who was the last one? Oh, we have one on temperament, which is also like really interesting. So definitely make sure that you check out tomorrow. And that is it. Oh, last thing. Yes, sorry, last thing. The VIP ticket, if you are wanting to purchase that, or if you're just on the fence, at the end of tomorrow, the price goes up to the normal price, the full price for the VIP ticket, which is $127. So if you are wanting to get it before it goes up, you're more than welcome. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope that you all have a really good rest of your day. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Bye.